Hi all, and welcome back to a new video, and it is the one we have been greatly anticipating. I've been anticipating making it. Hopefully you guys want to be seeing it, and it is the official day one preview of the Cheltenham Festival. We are here sitting Monday the 10th of February. It is 4 weeks to the start of the festival tomorrow, so I just decided to take it into my own hands. In my eyes, I've seen enough clues to really be coming down on my main options, certainly for the Grade 1 races. I know that probably there might be some new people. Usually there is for these Cheltenham Festival videos. If you are new, hello, hope all is well. And the way these videos work, I suppose, is I will do the 4 days previewing the Grade 1 action. I will then do a handicap video, and then I suppose closer to the time, around a week, and not even that, a few days before the festival, I will do another video of each day doing my final selections. So this is kind of more, this is the meaty stuff. So this could take 20 minutes or something like that. As for the final selection videos, more that kind of 6-7 minutes. But this is where I really explain my views, and obviously there'll be changes. That's why I implement the second set of videos, because I could put up a horse there, say for the Arkle, and tomorrow it's ruled out of the festival, and you want something to replace that. So as I say, we'll be taking you through the big races. So on day one, which is today's video, we'll be covering the Supreme Novices Hurdle, the Arkle Novices Chase, the Champion Hurdle, the Mayor's Hurdle, and the National Hunt Chase. So not touching the Ultima or the Closed Brothers, not that we would want to, because they're absolute minefield handicaps, as we all know. But that's enough spoofing around for now, and we'll move on to the Supreme Novices Hurdle, of which I've got two selections. Both at okay prices. They're near enough the top of the betting, but neither of them are favoured. Look, the favourite at the moment is Shishkin. I don't know. I think he's been impressive. I wouldn't knock it. He's a horse that if he won, you wouldn't be surprised, but also if he was a bust, you wouldn't be surprised, because he's won 2 Mickey Mouse races, really. The form isn't up to that much. Beaten Shaken Up Harry and Shan Blue. Like, these are horses that aren't brilliant, let's be honest with ourselves. But he's won with so much in hand, you wouldn't know. My issue with him is the price. He's 5-2. It's just not a good price. And I'm just, especially for a horse that, when you're not on the hype train, that I've failed to grasp with him, to be honest. It is hard to just get involved at that type of a price when you don't believe it yourself. Others also that I'm not putting up but have a chance. Abacadabras is one. I've been slating Abacadabras for a lot of the year. Let's be honest with ourselves, he's still got a chance. He's a very good horse. His form with Envoy is brilliant. And as you know, I'm a massive Envoy fan. I've got two issues with Abacadabra. I've an issue with his jumping, because his jumping isn't slick, and I feel he could make a mistake at a key time, bowling down towards the second last earth or something like that. He could make an earth-shuddering mistake. And also, I do wonder how much he finds for pressure and whether the Cheltenham Hill would be to his fancying. I just don't see it personally. I don't think he wants that kind of real slog fest of a finish. And I'd just be concerned that this will be a horse that will turn in travelling as good as anything, but not quite get up the hill and perhaps fade out of it. And also, just the last one that I felt I should mention is a horse called Chantry House, another one of these Nicky Henderson horses. You have no idea how much ability this horse has. I think the simple answer, he has a fair bit of ability. I would be concerned the Supreme, or any Cheltenham race for him, to be honest, this year might just come a bit too soon. He seems a bit babyish, a bit unexperienced, and perhaps he's a horse for next year. Which leaves us with 2 near the top of the market, and my number 1 pick here is in the form of Asterion Forlange at 5-1. Now the issue is he's in the Donnelly colours, which is the same as Shishkin. Will they run the two against each other? I think they're going to have to. I can't I can't have this, one has to go which way, one has to go the other, because they've the big getaway for the Ballymore as well. Like, it's not as if they've no options. So I really want this horse to run over 2 miles. I think that's where he'll be best suited. And to be honest, I think it's where Shishkin is best suited. So just run the two against each other. Stop taking the moral high ground and actually just let the horses run in the races they'll be best suited. This horse was a fairly big purchase. I think he was 290 grand after winning a point-to-point. He was pretty workmanlike in a bumper at Thurles, but his 2 runs over hurdles this year have been stunning. He won at Naas by 10 lengths before winning the Chanel Pharma Novices Hurdle from Easy Work by 9.5 lengths. Now, that was an absolute procession. They went a good gallop that day, and Easy Work is a very good horse. Now, it was probably below a minimum trip, it was a minimum trip for Easy Work, but I still thought the way he powered away from him turning in and then was able to sustain that at the back of the last was very impressive, and that's what really got my juices flowing. This Chanel Pharma Novices Hurdle, formerly known as the Deloitte Novices Hurdle, has thrown up many a good horse in the past, including last year's Supreme winner Classical Dream, the year before that the Ballymore winner in Samcro. So this horse, I just think he's a very, very good horse. I think 2 miles at the moment is where he wants to be. He jumps a little bit to his right. That would be a bit of a concern. But I see them lining him up pretty much in the van, on the rail. Don't let him jump right. Could have a massive chance. One also that if he runs in this will need to be ridden prominently is Fiddler on the Roof. And yes, I have slightly fallen into the trap with the Fiddler on the Roof hype. But I don't think there's much hype, because from what I can see, you've got Asterion and Forlange and Fiddler on the Roof, which are Grade 1 winners, and you've Shishkin, who's won a listed race at Huntington, who's favourite at 5-2, and Asterion Forlange is 5-1, and Fiddler on the Roof is 8-1, which is just a massive price. He was formerly trained in Ireland by John Joe Walsh. He won a bumper for him, beating the Big Getaway, who's obviously a really good horse. Perhaps not a horse for this season, but he's still a very good horse. He then went over to Colin Tizard. He was a bit unlucky on his stable and hurdle debut, bumping into Time Hill, and was second to him at Chepstow, beating only 2 lengths. The next time out at Wincanton, I thought he should be getting the better of Edward Stone, and that would be a hint of a concern. But the last 2 times at Sandown, it's been procession work, really, beating Arrivederci by 7 lengths, and then beating Jeremy's Flame in the Tolworth hurdle by 6 lengths. Don't read into Jeremy's Flame's last run. She was pulled up lame in one of the races at the Dublin Racing Festival. But also there was horses like Son of Camas hang in there. What was the other one? Calvadoge, who's actually won today. He's just won today at Plumpton. I think that form is good. He's a strong stayer. He's a good jumper. He might be tapped for a little bit of toe, but hopefully he'll be finishing well. And I can't really see him out of the frame. I think he should run in this race. He screams supreme horse to me, and 8-1 I think is a backable price. Moving on to the Arkle. And let's firstly discuss the 2 at the top of the market, Notebook and Fakir Duderie, obviously closely tied with their form over Christmas. If I'm being honest with you, I would have Notebook ahead of Fakir Duderie all day. I don't see that form being reversed. And I say this because Fakir Duderie, I don't think he was given the greatest ride over Christmas, I'll admit that, and he was still close enough. But I have a theory with Fakir Duderie that when it comes to really good standard racing, he always has 1 or 2 too good. You look at the Supreme last year, when he lost to Pentland Hills at Aintree, there's always just 1 too good when it gets to the really tough level, and I'd have that the same here. And also, I'd be wary that he'll actually run in the Arkle, given the fact that JP doesn't send too many to this race. Notebook was good at the Dublin Racing Festival. He played up a bit beforehand though, which is a bit strange. Well, not strange, but you'd be a bit tempered by it, I suppose. And he's a short enough price. And I have warmed to him more than I have before the Dublin Racing Festival. I was against him before the Dublin Racing Festival, which I think a few of you guys were pretty angry about. And I have warmed to him. but not enough to put him up here. I feel there should be a horse to beat him, but it is hard to find it. So maybe there isn't. Maybe I'm just barking up the complete wrong tree here. One, though, that I don't feel should be the price he is Cashback, who's 7-1 in comparison to Notebook's general 5-2, 11-4. He was beaten a half length by Notebook last time out in the Dublin Racing Festival. He missed 2 out, was headed turning in, and battled back very tenaciously, which I didn't see him doing. I thought he's a bit of a tearaway front runner. If he got headed, he might sulk. He was an average enough hurdler himself, as was Notebook. He was second in a Grade 2, that was his best form, but he's been transformed over fences, beating Capucha Mix by 7 lengths and 0-10 by 12 lengths at Naas, which was a very impressive performance before, obviously, that run last weekend. I just think there's too much of a discrepancy in price. I think he'll finish in the frame, and 7-1's a big price for me. One I've taken a chance on because I backed him last year in the Ballymore Novices Hurdle where he came 4th, is Brewing Up a Storm for Ollie Murphy at 10-1. At the end of last year, in both in the Ballymore and at Aintree, it didn't seem like he just properly went through with his effort over that 2.5 miles. He turned in looking like he was going well in the Ballymore and kind of faded to 4th. He was second at Aintree to Reserve Tank. Again, you thought he might win, but he didn't. And this year, he's 2 for 2 over fences, over 2 miles and 2 mile 2 furlong. He beat Good Boy Bobby by a head on his chasing debut before beating Southfield Stone by 4 lengths. I'm not going to lie to you guys, though that bare form in itself, not good enough to win an Arkle. But he hasn't been seen since, and maybe he's just been quietly prepared for this race. It looks like he'll definitely run in this, and Itchy Feet will run in the JLT, or the Marsh as it's now called. And I think 10-1's not a bad price here. And you'll begin to realise I'm a loyal man when it comes to my horses. And Brewing Up a Storm ran pretty well for me for the entirety of last year. He's won me a few bob this year. And I'll be going to the well with him in the Arkle, provided he gets there at 10-1. Those are my 2 main bets. If I was to have one that I'll just throw at you, if you wanted to, literally £2 each way, that if she turned up, I would not put anyone off backing Moira Banri at 20-1. She's 4 for 4 over fences, beating horses by 15 lengths, Song of the Sky by 15 lengths, Thomas Darby by 1 length, Baddesley Knight by 13 lengths, and Delilah Desoy by 11 lengths. Some of those haven't been the greatest races, and her race last time out was probably her worst performance to date, even though she won by 11 lengths. But that was over 2.5 on soft ground. She looks a 2-miler. She's a very good jumper. I think she'd have a sniff. But it would be doubtful whether she'll actually turn up and run in this race. We move on to the Champion Hurdle. So I'm just lifting my big pile of notes here. And the Champion Hurdle is a minefield of a race. And obviously hasn't been helped by Saldier and Classical Dream coming out. I wouldn't have ever backed Saldier, but I genuinely thought that we'd rock up on the first day and it would be genuine soft ground and Classical Dream would win. That was what was in my mind for the last couple of weeks, I must say. I thought they'd get him right for the day, and it's pretty much guaranteed to be pretty soft on the first day at Cheltenham. They water it quite a bit. But now I'm all out of whack. Look, again, going through the top of the market, Epatante, think she's a good mare. I wouldn't be surprised if she won. Out of the horses at the top of the market, she would be the one I would side with, but she's too short considering she bombed at Cheltenham last year. Pentland Hills is a horse I can't have. He's been struggling to see his races out. I know, he should have won. Maybe he should have held on to him a bit more. But how he didn't win at Haydock is genuinely beyond me. And Honeysuckle is doubtful to run in the race. I put up on this, on my anti-post portfolio videos, Super Sunday for this race at 33-1. I thought he was a good price then. He's now 16-1, which is getting pretty short. It's still worth an each way crack, I think. He was 4th in the Irish Champion, 3-time Grade 1 winner, twice being over 2 miles. He's a stuffy enough horse. It takes a while to get him fit. So hopefully he might run in the Red Mills Hurdle this weekend at Gorn Park, and then we'll go on to the Champion Hurdle and maybe run well. My issue with the Champion Hurdle is there are 2 horses in that are more than likely not going to run that I think would be seriously in the shake-up. One of them being Benny the Jew, who's 15-2, but she would need to be supplemented for the race, so you take that risk. She is unlikely to run, but I suppose it is now more likely now that Saldier and Saldier and Glasgow Dream aren't running. Look, I'd probably speak more about her in the Mare's Hurdle. I just think she's absolutely top class. Stepping out of 2 miles would be a worry, but if it was proper soft ground, I think she'd be able to cope with it. And I think she's got so much class that an awful lot of these would have struggled very much to give her £7. And the other one is one of my beloveds, Envoilen at 14-1. I don't think he should run in this race, to be honest. I'm one of the people that thinks, look, just stick to novice hurdling, to be honest, and win your novice hurdle, go on to chasing. Don't complicate things. But the more you look at it, the more you think you'd have a cracking chance. The Darver Star form, Honeysuckle was being raved about for beating Darver Star at half length. Envoilen has flicked that horse into touch previously. He's a strong stayer, he's a slick jumper. I still have a theory that he's probably better at 2 miles than 2.5 miles at this moment in time. I don't think that will be taken up, but 14-1. I don't know whether it's 14-1 non-run or no bet. I suspect it is not. But if it was, I would have a bit on, because he'd be 2-3-1 favourite if he ran in the race, to be honest, as would Benny the Jew. Like, whether they deserve to be that price or not, they would be massively contracted in price. So really, out of the ones that genuinely will run, I still am sticking with Super Sunday. Don't shoot me. I know some people like him, some people really don't like him, so hopefully he might run an okay race. The Mare's Hurdle itself seems to be between the two, Benny the Jew and Honeysuckle. It'd actually be great if the two of them ended up running in this race, because it would make for an excellent spectacle and also make Benny the Jew a backable price. She's currently evens, which I just think is a class price. I think she's a better horse. She's such a strong traveller. She's proved more. She's perhaps, as Willie Mullins alluded to, the best mare he's ever trained. When you think of Annie Power, Covega and the likes, she's just so good. Her performance in the Galmoy was out of this world, really. If you give this horse soft ground, she's not going to be beat. She beat the Boncourt over in France at the end of last year. Now, from what I know, I'm the last person to consult about French racing, but de Boncourt, I think, was being treated as like a Coto star. Like, this horse would never, not a chance this horse would be beaten by a Irish raider. And she absolutely trashed her as well. I just think she's a class act, and she'd win wherever she goes, to be honest. This is her most likely target, and I think she's a bit better than Honeysuckle, so that will be for me. One in the Mare's Hurdle, you're going to give out about it, and you're probably every right to give out about it, but I would not put away anybody backing Lorena at 14-1 each way for this race. Look, at the end of the day, the horse hasn't taken the fences. She wasn't brilliant at Goran Park, but she won, so everyone was able to go, okay, she's taken the fence like a duck to water. She was beaten after the first at Leopardstown and beaten probably after the third or fourth in Sandown. She really hates jumping fences. She needs to go back to hurdles, and she does have strong form over hurdles. She flopped slightly in the champion hurdle last year, but I wouldn't put her past running her big race here if she was to line up in the race. 14-1. I think she's a better horse still than Stormy Ireland, and therefore, if she was to run in the race, she could fill the frame. And the final one of this day one preview is the National Hunt Chase. And lo and behold, I'm not putting up a Willie Mullins horse here. I'm against Carefully Selected, which is odd because I do like the horse. And I know if you were watching my Antipose videos, I ended up putting him up for the RSA after he won at Punchestown. And then he ran a couple of weeks later at Naas and jumped terribly and fell in. And I've really been put off by that effort. I know I probably shouldn't have looked too much into it, but I just think Champagne Classic is a brilliant option here. He's 5-1. He's a good jumper, strong traveller, strong form in the book, beating Captain CJ the same distance that Manila Indo beat Captain CJ in the beginner's chase. He then beat Discorama down at Wexford, who's a good enough yardstick, before finishing second to Battle Over Doyen, who didn't frank the form in the Flogas, but he was never going to win over 2.5. It seemed a bit of a bizarre piece of placing, if you ask me. But you even have to look back over hurdles. Champagne Classic won a Grade 1 novice hurdle at Punchestown, beating the likes of Penn Hill, Album Photo, Presenting Percy. All of them were in that race. You know, that's strong form lines. This is a really good horse. One that you probably don't want to... look, I don't know whether he'd end up turning up or not, but if he did, he's a long-standing member of my midweek racing winners club, and it is a horse called Dominator for Oliver Sherwood. 20-1. He's 2 from 4 over fences. He was third in the Towton at Wetherby last weekend. He made a few mistakes, was well beat in the end. But he won at Chepstow twice before that. He's just a galloping type. He does make the odd error, but he finds generously for pressure. He could well relish a trip like this 3 mile 6. And I just wouldn't be surprised if he ran. Would he run well? I just think he's a horse that, again, as I say, he's won me a few quid over the last year or two in midweek racing. There's some horses you get weirdly affectionate towards, and he is one of them, as some of the guys watching this will know. Anyway, that concludes the day one preview. A bit of a mouthful that, if you have stayed watching for the full 20, 22 minutes or whatever it is, I do thank you. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a like and subscribe to the channel down below. It does mean an awful lot. Let's try and push for 1,000 subscribers for Cheltenham. I'm on around 820, 830, something like that. It would be great if we could push towards 1,000 even. And as always, I'm really up for debate in the comments. So let me know what your day one thoughts are, what your naps are. Do you think if Benny Juju or Envoy would run in the champion hurdle, would they win it? I want to hear your guys' thoughts down below. Hopefully I'll be getting through all 4 days of these previews pretty sharpish to keep you guys in the loop. But until next time, where I'll be covering day 2, have a good time and best of luck.